Oh, mate, good to speak to you again, Ricky.
Lovely to be here.
Afterlife is good.
Thank you.
Oh, but the darkness.
Yeah,
The darkness.
it starts as it means to go on, doesn't it? It's quite sad. I mean, the jeopardy's there, and we know we start with my character. He's lost everything, the love of his life. His wife's died, and he's depressed and angry, and he wants to end it all, but the dog's hungry. And that gives him long enough to think, right, okay, I'm going to punish the world. He's in the second stage of grief, and he thinks, okay, I'm going to live long enough to punish the world, and then when it all gets too much, I can always kill myself. He treats it like a superpower. He's basically trying to turn himself into a psychopath so he doesn't feel pain anymore. He's doing anything to not feel pain. He's getting drunk. He tries drugs. He's nasty to people to make himself feel a little bit better. He's wounded. He's really, really wounded and in pain. And I think that sounds like a comedy. No, but the comedy comes, I think, through the audience living vicariously through the things he says to people, because I think we feel very stifled these days, and we wish we could say what's on our mind more. And even without giving too much away, the mugging scene. You know, if we're mugged, we hand over our money because we might have a baby in a stroller, or they know where we live. Whereas he says, "I've got nothing to lose, bring it on." And I think it's quite liberating for a while, or so he thinks. But certainly for the audience, because it's not a traditional sitcom by any means, but it is still funny because you've got to be honest. You've got to know why he's doing it. Otherwise, he's just a nasty misanthrope who says awful things. But I think once you know why he's like that, I think you enjoy the ride a bit more. Well, you've seen all six. You know, what do you know what I mean?
And well, I'm not going to give away what goes on and how it develops. But when you're writing it, Ricky,
yeah.
The drafting process, so you go through it and you say, oh, is that dark enough? Have I pushed the audience enough?
Well, all you have to do is say things that happen, and that can be quite, cold and calculated. And then you, as a writer, you have to deal with how you make that either palatable or push the edge, or what do other people say. So there's a whole world created, and things get complicated. And I think in fiction we sort of create our own heroes and villains as role play for the soul. So you really go through those emotions. I think people will laugh and they'll cry and they'll think, I hope. So you just create this full real world, and it is still real, even though it's, as I say, not a traditional sitcom and a lot happens. The fact that he's forced to the underbelly of society, he meets people he wouldn't have met because he had the idyllic life. And when I say idyllic, his relationship, it wasn't like a coffee advert. It was real. They got drunk every night and mucked around and loved each other, and he lost his best mate as well. And it's about the mundanity of life saving you. He has to get a job so he can afford money to get drunk. He has to feed the dog because he loves the dog, and he's depressed and he's angry, and he just wants to curl up in a ball and die. But you can't. You've got to carry on, and ultimately, it's about whether life is worth living or not. And myself, I conclude that it is. It's an amazing gift and opportunity, and I celebrate every single day to the fullest because I know I won't be around one day. So all those things go into that, and then I've got to try and make it funny.
Yeah, exactly right. There's one particular swear word that was repeated quite a lot. And I thought, wow, he's taken it there. Oh, and he's done it again. Okay, he's used that. Oh, now they're saying it stretched out, that particular word.
Yeah, well...
What was it about that word that we couldn't say, of course, but why?
Well, because there are no restrictions to him anymore. He's not constrained by society, and he wants to hurt people's feelings, and he wants, in a certain way, he wants attention sometimes. He's in his grief, but he wants to get a reaction because it's a better reaction than the one he's feeling. He prefers it to sadness. He'd rather hurt someone's feelings than just feel sad. And so that's what he does, and language is just part of it,
Did you have to take yourself to a very dark place when writing this, in the sense of you, I know, have a partner. You seem to have an amazing relationship, the two of you.
Yeah.
And did you have to kind of imagine what life would be like without her
Well,
to take you to that place?
I know it would be. That's how I'd feel. I think, and then there's the other side of it is it hits the ground running where his wife is he's watching the video diary of when his wife was alive, and you see that she's going through chemotherapy and she's towards the end, and she says, if you're watching this, I'm not around anymore. I couldn't say any of this to your face, too embarrassing. Not for me, for you. You never were good at hearing how lovely you were, but you're absolutely useless. And I've left you a little guide for life. And she does things like, even though she knows she's dying, she's saying things like, you don't forget to put the salt in the dishwasher now and again. The salt's in the garage. That's the big thing on the side of the house. And she's being funny and sweet. And he's in tears watching this because that always gets me, that people care about what happens to people they leave behind. I think that's the best of humanity, that we care about people that we'll never see again. Even though we're leaving the party, we worry about things like that because we love them and we're alive now. So there's a sweetness to it. There's an absolute humanity to it. In all the swear words.
And the really funny. I mean, that's the genius of this. At those points at which you are unsettled and then something comes in and you laugh and you think, oh, I've just laughed.
I think that's like life. I think that's real life. We're going round, we're having a whale of a time, and then we get some bad news, or vice versa. We think that it's never going to get better, and then we have some amazing news. That is what life is. You never know what's around the corner. There's no good time to hear bad news. And, things change your life in 1 second. They change your life forever, or for a while, in 1 second. And that's why you've got to celebrate the good times every day. Tony says in it, and I live by this. That every night he couldn't wait to get home to open a bottle of wine and party. And by party, he meant sit on the couch with the love of his life, watching telly. And they just had a great life together.
It's a comedy. We want to make sure that Afterlife.
It definitely is. It definitely is. Yeah,
without doubt. But was it at all upsetting for you to write it at parts?
Yeah, particularly I wrote the saddest bits usually on a plane, drinking champagne at altitude. So
there's a juxtaposition for you.
Yeah, no, I would be in tears sometimes thinking about this. I think lovely things make me cry more than sad things. Just kindness makes me cry because it's so needed and so beautiful, and people give it up so willingly. The best of humanity. Terrible things don't make me cry. They make me angry. Animal cruelty makes me want to take a flamethrower to people. Whereas someone doing something kind for an animal, I'm in floods because it's so sweet. It's affirmation. It's the best that people can be.
It's fascinating that your dog in Afterlife essentially saved you. And last week I nearly lost my dog after 13 years. And just watching that part of it specifically, Ricky, just that bond that we have with our four-legged friends. I know you have a bond with.
They're the greatest thing on this earth. Dogs are the greatest thing in the world. They're amazing. They are amazing. And I wrote a dog in, so I had a dog for 6 weeks. And and when I was saying goodbye to the cast and crew the last day of filming, when I hugged the dog, that's when I nearly cried because I was thinking, she doesn't know why she's not going to see me again. She's been with me for 6 weeks, and I started.
It's the dog.
I know. Yeah.
No disrespect to cast and crew.
I know.
Talking of previous cast and crew, I thought it was a little bit awkward that Olivia Colman didn't thank you personally for helping start her career back in 2002.
I know.
Were you a little bit miffed that she didn't mention you?
What can you do? I didn't see it. It's what was it, about 3 a.m. the Oscars?
Yeah.
Not that I watch those things anyway, unless I'm hosting them and I have to be there. No, I'm not a big fan of 3-hour. Even though I've won a few, that is the only reason to ever be or watch an award show if you're winning one. It's not even good to be there and losing. It's just
The goodie bag's good. You once showed me your watch you got from one of the Oscar goodie bags.
Did I?
Yeah. Well, you were wearing it, and I remember saying to you, "Oh, has Jay-Z lost his watch?" And you went, "What? What do you mean?" And I went,
it was
"Mate,
a bit
it's a massive gold thing."
I think it was a bit too bling for me, wasn't it? I know. I want free tracksuits in Oscar's goodie bags. Jumble sale tracksuits. That's what I want. No,
Dog food.
It doesn't suit me. Yeah.
Are you? Have you extricated yourself from an LA life?
I go there when I have to, which is usually the Emmys and the Golden Globes, or if I'm doing something like, I don't know, recording The Simpsons. But I try and do everything out of London and New York. I purposely do it, not only because I live in those two places, but because I certainly do prefer them, and I like to do my own thing. I don't want to be beholden to anyone. I don't, I write and create my own stuff, and I can do that anywhere. And that to me is part of the joy, as opposed to going there and trying to make it and being nice to people to get you jobs. I've always done my own thing, and I don't feel out of it. I know I'm part of that scene. I just like to do it from the comfort of my own house and my two chosen cities, which are London and New York. But I've got nothing against it. It's the weather's nice.
Has anyone that you've ever given a roasting to while hosting ever taken it super personally?
I don't think so. They're all nice to my face.
Well, that's LA, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. That's what someone's asked. What's the difference between New York and LA? And someone famously said, in New York, they stab you in the front.
That says it all, doesn't it? Jeez, yeah. If you want a friend, get a dog. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, dogs. I go walking whether I'm in Hampstead or New York. I every day, me and Jane go for at least one walk on either Hampstead Heath or Central Park, just so I can meet dogs. I absolutely love it. Dogs will save humanity. They are. Be the person your dog thinks you are. They're just good. They're made of good. They're made of goodness.
They just love you. They just love you unconditionally.
I know.
It was so bizarre. I mean, our dog had these epileptic seizures, and she's 13 now. And we thought for a moment we were going to lose her, and it was I can't tell you how horrific it was.
But it's inevitable. It's terrible. It's Louis C.K.'s got this skit he does where they got a puppy, and he says when you bring home a puppy, you're basically saying to the family, look at this, we're going to be crying about this in 15 years.
Man, so close to it.
I know.
It's dark as you like.
I know.
Dark as you like. Do you ration yourself online now, Twitter, or have you got one of those apps that tells you how many hours you've spent online?
I do. I mean, when I'm busy, I never think about it. It's when you're kicking around, waiting for a limo, it is, and you go on.
Yeah.
But now I think I use it less than I did when I first. I think the first time I thought this is amazing. I can talk about anything, and then you sort of you wind down a little bit. I mean, I use it as a marketing tool, but I do speak to people. People say this isn't him, this isn't you, and it really is me. I don't have a butler doing it or anything. And I still enjoy it. I think social media, if you use it properly and you don't take anything personally, I think it's a good thing. It's just another form of communication. I know people do have a hard time on it, and there are idiots on it, but then there are idiots on the high street, and we've got to go there,
For sure. I saw that picture you put up of those people who'd killed this beautiful leopard.
Why? Why are they so proud of it? And that's the other thing, right? This is the worst thing and the best thing about Twitter, right? There's lots of propaganda, but you can fight back. This ridiculous thing that trophy hunting is conservation, it's nonsense. It's propaganda and lies, right? So the theory is, to stop poaching, we let some American dentist shoot an endangered species for 50 grand, and there's a trickle down and it gets to the poachers. It doesn't. It's corruption. It goes in the pockets of corrupt, and poaching still happens. So it's worse, right? Don't believe that. It's nonsense. It's taking money for someone living out their psychopathic urges. Also, it's ridiculous. Imagine if that did work, and it doesn't, by the way. Why we wouldn't let someone go in, shoot one cancer patient for £1 million and then pay for the chemo for the others? You'd go, are you mental? Why are we letting these people use bow and arrows to see what it's like to smash a giraffe or a leopard's head in, and then take a picture on Instagram? It's disgusting. They should not be enabled, and the propaganda of it being conservation is a lie. It's nonsense. So there you go. You got me all worked up now.
Well, I see that, and I share that, and I know Nicky Campbell here, who presents Breakfast, shares
he's
that
great
with you as well.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. Does it ever make you think, I want to stay? I can't see any more of this stuff, because you empathise with it to such a degree.
It ruins my day. It ruins my day. But then I think we've got to let's fight it, because there are inroads and things do change. Particularly, that is the greatest thing about Twitter. It would take you years to get 100,000 signatures like 20 years ago, and that's the magic number, because then it gets heard in Parliament. And I've been part of many campaigns that have changed. Like puppy farms, bear bile farms. We do make progress. The next one I want to do is animal testing. Again, it doesn't work. 93% of all experiments that work on animals then fail and are dangerous on humans because the models don't work. Computer models work better than animal testing. Again, it's propaganda because people get paid. People who breed the beagles, they make 1,000 or 2,000 per dog. Universities get kickback from pharma companies to do research on it. It doesn't work, and it's cruel. You've got to end animal testing. I mean, some people think, oh yeah, but what about cancer and AIDS, right? I understand that. There's no ambiguity about shampoo and cosmetics. That's mental. Putting stuff in rabbits' eyes, torturing them to death because don't get shampoo in your eyes. It stings. Done, right? And then the medical stuff, it doesn't work. It's cruel and it doesn't work. You got me worked up again here.
What's look, you're so successful at what you do, Ricky, and clearly you can hear the passion in your voice and the eloquence in which you express yourself. So then what's the next thing for you? Do you feel as though at some point making this amazing entertainment that you do is just not going to fulfill you enough, that actually you need to get perhaps more on the front line, more on the coalface with what you want to do to change the world?
Well, I don't know. I think you just got to do your bit whenever you can, as much as you can, and get a little bit better, and don't let it destroy you. And still be happy. You've got to have your own life as well. But as I say, the good thing is, I'll be dead soon. So
no, there's a revelation. No, you've got plenty more to do. You've got much more to do to annoy people. Do you enjoy? How do you deal with trolls? I mean, do you enjoy?
I don't really get them. I have to search them. Sometimes when I need a new bit for a stand-up, I'll often search a troll for a little bit of material. But no, I don't really get. I know some people do. I don't know whether they think they've given up because I don't care. You know what? Here's the truth, right? Outside sort of something like animal cruelty, no one has ever upset me on Twitter. No one trying to upset me has ever. It's mad. Imagine being upset by someone on Twitter. I'm too happy. I'm too happy. It would be mad. It's like reading every toilet wall in the world and then taking offence. It's madness. It's virtual. If your phone's not on, they don't exist. They're not coming to my house. So no, things like that, they've never bothered me. But as I say, I do understand when people do get bullied, and it is horrible trying to be nasty for the sake of it. But no, I don't really get it, and it doesn't bother me anyway.
How do you get the balance right when writing to kind of push your audience to really try and kind of exploit their emotions?
You have to be honest. You have to be honest. You have to be honest and real. Everyone's basically the same out there. They want to feel something, and if you convince them, the job of a writer-director is to make people feel as passionate about something as you are, and you do that by doing your real feelings. And if you can get those across, it's win-win. it's win-win. It's when you start compromising it or making it more palatable for more people. It's when you make it anodyne or safe, or you hold back or you pull back, or you're worried about the backlash, or you're constrained by broadcast laws. That's when something's compromised. And if you don't do that, you'll come up with something pretty interesting.
And does Netflix give you more freedom to be who you really want to be than others?
There's no constraints. It's
anywhere.
It's remarkable, you know. I mean, outside breaking the law, I couldn't go on there and libel people, or you know, But no, they get it. They also, I'm not a maniac. I justify everything I do. I'm trying to do the best here. It's not like I'm, you know, trying to undermine society. So no, there's absolutely. I don't think I've had one no or one thing they were worried about. It's fantastic for an artist. It's the greatest platform of all time, I'd say.
Is that though because when you enter into a conversation with them in the early stages, you say, "Look, this is who I am. Don't kind of get in the way." I interviewed Tom York from Radiohead, and after they made a hit of "Creep," he said to the record label, Radiohead said to the record label, "Never give us a deadline again. We've delivered a hit record for you. Never give us a deadline."
Yeah,
again.
I don't do deadlines. I mean, I think it's because, well, I've always had final edit, really. But there was a compromise. To get final edit, I went to BBC Two, not BBC One. I went to Channel 4, not ITV. I went to HBO, not NBC. So that was the compromise. But now, with Netflix, the sky's the limit. You know, it's higher ratings than any broadcaster in the world and zero restrictions. So it's just fortuitous that this fell in my lap. You know, and at this age where I'm trying to be more honest and braver than ever, I'm trying to push those boundaries. You know, freedom of speech is the hill I'll die on. So it just all worked out lovely for me, really.
Does age free you up from perhaps when you're younger, you worry more about what people think, and the older you get, you think, "Hey, you know what? I'm good."
I realise it's a waste to worry about what people think of you, or to worry about one person being offended when you're doing something like this. So it does free me up, and I've got more and more militant. But it's for the good of the audience as well, you know. That's what I try to do to be braver, and you know, you've got to. It's crazy what's happening in the world, and people have got to be more honest and have more integrity about journalism and communication than ever before. Not join them, not put out more lies to combat the lies. You've just got to tell the truth more and more.
Do you find yourself in an overwhelmingly optimistic place in your life?
I am. I know that I'm going to die and never exist again and be forgotten, like everyone else. But I also know this is a remarkable opportunity. I treat it's like a holiday. We don't exist for 13.5 billion years. Then we have 90 years, if we're lucky, of the most incredible experience in the universe, right? And then we won't exist ever again. So you've got to make the most of it. And that's great. Live every day to the fullest. And be kind and don't hurt animals. That's my manifesto.
Mate, what a manifesto that is. One thing I noticed at the opening scenes of Afterlife was how big your shoulders are. You've got massive shoulders.
Have I?
Yeah, you're quite hench.
Well, that's all I do, really. I get bigger and bigger.
Are you benching?
I do. Believe it or not, I do go to the gym. I suppose. You've embarrassed me now.
You've got big shoulders. I was like, geez, this guy could have it.
No, so maybe my head's shrinking. Because you do. Your head shrinks when you get older. Your brain shrinks, right? That's why you lose inhibitions when you get older, because your brain shrinks. And you say, oh, and that's when you turn racist and say awful things on the bus.
Are you looking forward to those years?
Yeah.
I I can't wait till someone put that viral video up on YouTube. Isn't that Ricky Gervais being horrible to that British Sri Lankan bloke?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. Oh, dear.
So what's next? Afterlife is here. What's the next thing in the pipeline for you between New York and London?
Well, I'm doing warm-ups for Supernature. Which is the follow-up to Humanity. So I'll tour that for like 18 months, and then that'll go on Netflix in a couple of years. I'd seriously consider doing a second series of this if it goes down well and Netflix have got any money left.
Well,
what
that's
else?
interesting where you would take a second series of this, considering where it ends up.
Well, if you, but
that's quite a challenge.
There's always ways to go. There's always ways to go, and and it's good to be challenged and have to think about what you do next. That's when you come up with something more interesting. I continue doing my radio show on Sirius. I love being on the radio.
Good. Good.
So yeah, that'll keep me going for a couple of years.
Perfect. Ricky, as always, great to catch up with you.
Cheers, man. Pleasure.